Thanks for tuning in to Ag PhD. I'm Brian Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us today. One of the things that we get questioned on across the country is what can we do to improve the health of our soils? We'll talk about soil health on today's program.
We'll also cover why pre-emerge herbicides fail. There are a lot of farmers around the country who say, well, I just don't know if I want to use a pre because I've had a problem before. We're going to talk about what's gone wrong in the past and what you can do to fix that moving forward.
We'll even talk about what pre's might work to control our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop it later in the show. But first, here's our Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about the upcoming Ag PhD Advanced Soils Clinics.
All right, let's begin here. If you say, well, I have a lot to learn about soils, the Advanced Soils Clinic might not be for you. You may want to attend one of our regular soils clinics first and then maybe watch some reruns of Ag PhD online to try and catch yourself back up to speed, because the advanced one is going to move fast.
Well, it is, but by the same token, if this is going to be your first year attending a regular Ag PhD Soils Clinic, there's no reason why you can't and shouldn't come to an Advanced Soils Clinic. We're just going to talk a little more about certain nutrients that we don't have enough time to cover in the regular soils clinics, like molybdenum and cobalt, those types of things, for example. We'll also talk about some of the high yield farmers around the country and their soil tests and what we've learned from them in their soil tests and how that correlates to yield.
Well, it's one thing to understand the N, P, and K, secondary and micronutrients, but then taking that to the next level, as Brian mentioned, is really the key. Okay, I've got that in play. What's next, and how do I figure out what is next after that? That's what we're going to discuss.
Other things that we don't cover at our regular soils clinics include how do you fix saline soils and sodic soils? What do you do if you've got certain soil problems that are a little bit outside the norm? We've got a number of different situations and scenarios that we want to run through with you that day.
Well, there are a lot of things you're going to find as you get across your entire farm and start managing it on an acre by acre basis rather than one field at a time. And lots of these types of situations are sure to come up.
Well, last year we had tremendous response from the one Ag PhD Advanced Soils Clinic we had. So this year we're going to have a couple of them. Just check out agphd.com to see where we're going to be, what the times are, the agenda, all that type of thing. And please pre-register. That really helps us so we have enough food, enough books, and enough chairs for everyone who wants to be there.
Now, the Ag PhD Advanced Soils Clinics will be fun, but they won't help us stop our Weed of the Week. We'll show you what will control our Weed of the Week coming up later in the show.
The Guardian Air Twin Spray Nozzle from Hypro produces a twin spray pattern with air-inducted droplets for superior coverage, even in dense canopies. Be effective and efficient with your spray application this season with the Guardian Air Twin. Hypro, helping you spray better.
The buzz on this line is probably the best in 10 years, both in soil and in the plant. Joe, you've been doing this for a while. What's your take?
Well, Don, you take a player like High Energy N, 3 forms of nitrogen, plus sulfur and iron, with slow release technology, he's making plays all season long.
Oh, look at his numbers. He's getting it done.
But don't forget about N Response. This guy's designed for a quick release nitrogen.
It's looking like another championship season for Agro Liquid.
We raise corn, beans, and then about 7,500 head of hogs a year. About 800 acres of beans this year. All 800 are Liberty Link this year. Our biggest weed pressure is definitely the water hemp. That's why we switched to Liberty Link. We were Roundup ready, and we had some resistance. I got sprayed 3 times one year that didn't even come close to killing them. So the next year we switched to Liberty Link thinking we'd switch back and forth every year, and Liberty Link performed so well we never switched back. We have a test plot that had Roundup and Liberty Link right next to each other, and the Liberty Link out-yielded it the past 5 years. It's very important to have good weed control. For one, it just looks better to look at a nice clean field, but yield-wise it's also very important.
The Liberty Link system has a 2+ bushel per acre yield advantage over Asgrow Roundup Ready to Extend soybeans. More at libertylinkadvantage.bayer.us. Always read and follow label instructions.
Leading the charge in strip tillage for more than a decade, the Soil Warrior brings the future to your farm today.
Grow your incentives, not weeds. Earn an additional $6 per acre in cash back when you apply XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology on your Roundup Ready 2 Xtend soybeans, along with endorsed herbicides from Roundup Ready Plus Crop Management Solutions. Now you have the right tools to manage weeds and your bottom line. Visit GrowYourIncentives.com to see your total incentives opportunity.
We started utilizing the Dual React system this year. You can adjust your speed and it automatically adjusts your sprayer tips. So you can slow down and you aren't building up huge droplets, or you can speed up and you're not throwing a mist that's drifting.
Hypro, helping you spray better.
When you think of soil as a living, breathing thing, when you've got billions of living creatures operating in even just a small amount of soil, the idea of soil health and how important that can be for your crops is really evident.
When you read almost any farm magazine anymore, almost the #1 thing that I see in there is soil health. Well, what does that mean exactly? What are we after? You know, in a lot of cases, I can just look at a regular soil test and I can tell you if your soil is healthy or not. Now, certainly there are a number of other tests that you can run, specific soil health tests, but what we're really after are just a few basic things, and we want to go through those with you today.
Let's go back to Agronomy 101. We want to have 50% dirt, 25% water, and 25% air in our soil. Well, if we don't have air and we've got living organisms in the soil, that's one of the first things I think about when I look at soil health. So how do we have more oxygen in our soil? Now some will say, well, if we do tillage, we're pushing oxygen into the soil, and that's true, you are getting some oxygen into the soil. The problem is, to do it, you had to disrupt all the homes of the little microbes. So actually reducing tillage is one of the things that we find helping the health of our soil. The other thing is getting excess water out of the way.
Yeah, so that's where right away we're taking a look at drainage. If you don't have good drainage, if you don't have tile in the field and you're having high water table issues, that's a big problem. You've got to get that drainage improved. But in addition to that, I also look at calcium levels. Let's say you have low calcium levels. Let's say your calcium levels are 40%, 50% in a base saturation test. That's insufficient. You need at least 65 to 80% calcium in that soil. What more calcium does for you is gives you more porosity. Calcium is a big particle, okay? So if it's big and we have a lot of those big objects in the soil, well then that leaves more pore space for air to get even deeper into that soil and provide more oxygen for living creatures even deeper into that ground.
Another thing that provides a home for these living creatures is building up our organic matter in the soil. You could do that in a number of ways. We talk about it often on Ag PhD, that it starts by reducing tillage. It starts by putting things like manure out there and compost out there as fertilizer sources, raising crops with lots of roots. There are a number of things that you can control to actually make a difference during your farming career, building up organic matter levels significantly.
All right, in addition to that, the biggest thing that is important for you is raising a good crop, because the more crop you have above ground, the more roots you're going to have below ground, the more everything just gets going in that soil. So I look at that kind of two ways. Number one, in terms of raising the best crop possible, you've got to look at everything there is to that. So that's fertility, picking the right varieties, having good weed control, insect control, disease control. All those things are super important. But then the other side of it is, if you have growing season left and there's nothing growing on your ground, your soil is going to get less healthy. So that's where cover crops kind of come into play in a lot of cases. Now, I look at our farm, we plant corn when the ground's still frozen or the frost is just coming out, and a lot of times we're harvesting or finishing harvesting when the ground is frozen again. So I have no time to raise a cover crop in that case. But in a lot of areas of the country, and even on our own farm, if I have wheat, for example, that comes off several months before freeze up, put a cover crop out there. That's the best way to keep that soil health going and improving all through the season.
We certainly hear a lot about soil health and how important it is to improve it. We agree with that. We believe that soil health is really a key to getting high yields and maintaining them for a long time. So look at soil health measurements for your soil and do some of the practices that we talked about today to build up your soil's organic matter, get the right nutrient balance within the soil, and get that right balance of water and oxygen by improving your drainage as needed.
Hey, one last thing that I should mention here too is soil pH. If you don't have adequate soil pH, let's say you've got really low pH or really high pH, that's also a detriment to the living things in your soil. So yeah, there are just a lot of basic soil concepts we talk about. It's the same stuff every day. I don't care if we're talking about raising a good crop or raising a healthy soil. It's drainage, it's fertility, it's all those other things.
Well, we want positive things growing out in our field, not weeds like our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop this weed later in the show.
Our Morton is so much more to us than just a building. It's a place where we spend time with friends. It's a place where we hold family gatherings. It's become very important to us.
Morton Buildings. For work. For life. For generations. Contact us now during our annual sales event to save on your next building.
There are 6,272,640 square inches in an acre. We counted. Why? Because we designed the TigerMate 255 field cultivator and 2000 series early riser planter to maximize every single one. So when you create the most level seed bed in the industry and target a nickel-size area to plant a seed and never miss, you'll know in high-efficiency farming, there's one name to count on: Case IH. Rethink productivity. Learn more at caseih.com/everyinch.
Unlock the nutrients in your soil with Tag Team LCOXC liquid soybean, a triple-action biological product that helps improve nutrient access. Together with the LCO molecule, a rhizobia delivers nitrogen-fixing benefits, while an additional microbe makes phosphate in the soil more available. 3 powerful technologies in one extra concentrated formulation. See how it can help your yield potential at monsantobioag.com/unlock.
Smart farming is playing hockey with my son.
All right, sweetie, you excited to go? Yeah. Smart farming is going on more family vacations.
Smart farming is getting some much needed rest.
Smart farming is spending more time doing what you love. Make it happen with Farm Command.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
Spend some serious farmer time in Anaheim when Commodity Classic heads to California Tuesday, February 27th through Thursday, March 1st. Education that will change the way you think about your farm. Innovators who are changing the game in agriculture. The new ideas, equipment, and technology you won't find at your local farm show. And you can tack on a weekend with a family for a little R&R before you head home. Grow beyond at the 2018 Commodity Classic in Anaheim. Visit commodityclassic.com.
Why do pre-emerge herbicides fail? That's our topic today.
Well, okay, Brian. We really encourage the use of pre-emerge herbicides in crops like corn and soybeans and wheat and many more. And oftentimes we're saying, hey, this is the key, this is the key. But every once in a while we get some feedback from growers saying, well, it didn't work for me. What's going on in my field? We're going to talk about some of the common things that happen to really impact the performance negatively of these pre-emerge herbicides and then what you can do to overcome them.
First thing I want to talk about is unrealistic expectations. So this has nothing to do with a herbicide failing or succeeding. It's just all what you have in your mind and what you think you should get out of that herbicide. Here's where I'm going with this. If you have 100 weeds in the field and you get 99.9% control, how many of those weeds are dead? Well, probably all of them, every single one of them. So it looks great and you say, boy, I'm super happy. Okay, now let's say you have 1 million weeds in the field. If you have 99.9% control, what do you have left in the field? Well, you still have an awful lot of weeds left out there, and you go, oh, herbicide didn't work. Well, actually, the herbicide worked better than it's even promised to work, because a lot of times they'll talk about 80%, 90%, maybe 95% control. If you got 99.9, well, you should be super happy. So what I'm getting at here is you need to look at long-term weed control. We find this evident all around the country. Most of the complaints on herbicides come from fields that have had a historic issue. If you let weeds go to seed, you're going to be fighting that for many years to come.
All right, there's so many factors here with pre-emerge herbicides. I'm going to start with timing of application. One of the big things with the timing of application is you need to be out there before those weeds are really growing. So if you've already got weeds that are up and you're putting out a herbicide that has no contact activity but it has good soil residual activity, you're too late. For example, let's say you're putting out metolachlor and you've already got grass that's up. Well, it's not going to have a whole lot of reach back activity to kill those emerged grasses, but it will do a nice job stopping weeds as they're germinating below the soil. So the timing becomes real critical.
Well, the timing is always going to be critical, but a lot of people are counting on rain. And they say, hey, if I can just get rain pretty soon after, then that's going to get into that plant and it might even have a little bit of reach back. Well, look, here's the whole thing. We don't know what Mother Nature is going to do tomorrow or the next day or next week, and that gets to be the real problem. So ideally what we're after here, and what I would tell you is, if you've got a pre-emerge herbicide, how does that go into the weed? Well, if you look at like the yellows, for example, they are root inhibitors. They're going to go in through the roots. You've got a lot of products, like Darren mentioned, metolachlor, dual, and many other herbicides are shoot inhibitors, so they go into the shoot, which is also below ground. Okay, so if you've got herbicides that need to be below ground and you have them above ground, well, what do you think is going to happen? You've got to have decent rainfall to get them not only into the ground, but into the plant. If you were to incorporate, and I mean lightly incorporate, most pre-emerge herbicides, they're going to work better with less rainfall, simply because now we have placed them where they need to be. All we need is a little soil moisture to get them into the plant.
All right, so shallow incorporation is sure nice with many products, but what if you get them too deep? Now you've got product that's down, say 3 or 4 inches deep, and you're trying to kill weeds that are germinating in the top ½ inch. Well, you've diluted the concentration down so much in that top ½ inch that you just don't have a lethal dose to kill that weed. So you have to be real cautious about deep tillage. The other thing along those lines is, let's say you did some deep tillage in your field, then you sprayed the pre-emerge herbicide out there, and you're trying to just come in and lightly incorporate after that. If you've got some big ridges and valleys out through the field, you're going to have herbicide depth all over the place, and you're going to have erratic control.
Okay, so don't get us wrong here. We're not saying don't incorporate many of these herbicides. I love them incorporated. It's just very, very lightly. That's the key.
All right, the other key is picking the right herbicide to begin with. We talk to a lot of guys, like let's take wheat, for example, that say, well, man, I used that pre-emerge treatment of Sharpen, but I didn't get much help on my downy brome. Well, of course you didn't. Sharpen is a broadleaf herbicide, and you're trying to kill a grass. The same thing happens in soybeans where, well, I put this pre out, I put a group 15 out, but I didn't get great broadleaf control. Hey, group 15s do have some level of small-seeded broadleaf control, but they're better at controlling grasses than they are small-seeded broadleaves. That's why we talk about our 3 different pre's, and we talk about using things like metribuzin and the PPOs that are really good broadleaf killers that work a little bit better on those target weeds than the group 15s do.
The last thing I guess I'd mention is weed resistance. So when you look at the label on a lot of herbicides, they're going to give you all these different weeds that they control, except for if that weed builds up tolerance. So that's something you've got to figure out for your farm. And obviously, if you've got weed resistance, you're going to have to switch different modes of action. That might still mean you use the same product, but you may have to use additional products to get those resistant weeds.
Well, we sure like pre-emerge herbicides. We use them on every acre of our farm every season, but there certainly can be some failures if you fall out in one of the areas that we talked about today, not getting rain at the right time, or not getting the herbicide incorporated at the right depth, or even choosing the right herbicide to begin with. So you have to be careful to make sure they work.
Hey, one last thing, since Darren mentioned that rain again, I would just say, if let's say you're in no-till or you've got strip-till or something like that where you can't incorporate and you're really worried about rain because you're in a dry area of the country, if you can, try to apply these products super early. We've done a lot of applications in March. Boy, that really makes a difference because now I've got a month, maybe a month and a half to get rainfall on before my weeds start coming up. If it's going to be tomorrow when the weeds come up, you don't have a lot of time to get that rain. So that's one of the things I want you to think about if you can't incorporate or if you're in a dry area of the country.
Now, all those things are important to remember if you're trying to control our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is brought to you by Dow AgroSciences. Finish the fight against tough weeds with the Enlist Weed Control System.
Weeds are tough, but we're tougher. With unrivaled weed control, reduced drift, and near zero volatility. So, who's tough now?
Weed of the week is ivyleaf morning glory.
Normally you'll see this annual vine with leaves that have 3 lobes, but sometimes they can vary a little bit to a heart shape or even a 5-lobe leaf. But ivyleaf morning glory is one of those tougher weeds because it vines out.
Yeah, it is. And so I think about the HPPDs, for example, that I love in corn, and for that matter, even husky and wheat. We talk about those things all the time. They're really inexpensive, very effective on a lot of weeds, just not the best on ivyleaf morning glory. So I'm probably going to pick something other than the HPPDs.
The other thing is controlling this weed when it's smaller. Once it starts vining out, it gets much more difficult. So think about if ivyleaf morning glory is a problem in your field, getting out there really soon after crop emergence. So you want to do a nice job in the burn down. We really like sharpen in wheat. We really like verdict when we get into corn. In soybeans, you may be using gramoxone in your burn down because you've got some Roundup resistant weeds. That'll work great on ivyleaf morning glory.
Well, it's not just burn down, but we do like the prees. So, you know, Darren mentioned verdict in corn, but I don't know, I'd kind of lean toward Sure Start and Triple Flex in corn. In soybeans, use our 3 prees. That works great. Sharpen, Darren mentioned as a burn down in wheat, but that also has good residual on ivyleaf morning glory.
All right, post-emerge in wheat, I really like wide match. That'd be the preferred choice. In soybeans, well, we used to use a lot of Classic and Pinnacle, those kinds of things. They can kind of ding the beans a little bit, so be ready for that. We do see some Pursuit and Raptor being used. They aren't quite as good, but still can be effective if you're out there early.
Yeah, Roundup's not real great unless you're using a high rate, lower water volume. Dicamba on Extend beans, or certainly dicamba in corn, something like Status, that'd be the best way to go there.
That's all the time we have for our Weed of the Week, ivyleaf morning glory, but Iron Talk is coming up next.
Commodity Classic is an early adopter's paradise. This is where what's next happens, where you can meet the people who are changing the way you farm. From the jaw-dropping trade show to outstanding educational sessions to one-on-one conversations with other farmers from across the nation, you'll be among the first to experience the new ideas, innovations, and technology that can help your operation grow beyond. Spend some farmer time in Anaheim, Tuesday, February 27th through Thursday, March 1st. Discover more at commodityclassic.com.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Grow your incentives, not weeds. Earn an additional $6 per acre in cash back when you apply XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology on your Roundup Ready 2 Xtend soybeans, along with endorsed herbicides from Roundup Ready Plus Crop Management Solutions. Now you have the right tools to manage weeds and your bottom line. Visit growyouриncentives.com to see your total incentives opportunity.
Let's face it, Joe. Some of these guys aren't easy to play. Biologicals are expensive. Humates and plant growth regulators are messy.
Yeah, but Agro Liquid has 4 new players that have really eliminated those problems. The PreemerGro line has helped their team realize the benefits.
Wait, so season-long nutrition and optimized yields while creating a biologically active soil?
That's right. PreemerGro line is a fantastic addition to Agro Liquid's stellar team.
Our Morton is so much more to us than just a building. It's a place where we spend time with friends. It's a place where we hold family gatherings. It's become very important to us.
Morton Buildings. For work. For life. For generations. Contact us now during our annual sales event to save on your next building.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
There are 6,272,640 square inches in an acre. We counted. Why? Because we designed the TigerMate 255 field cultivator and 2000 series early riser planter to maximize every single one. So when you create the most level seed bed in the industry and target a nickel-size area to plant a seed and never miss, you'll know in high-efficiency farming, there's one name to count on. Case IH. Rethink productivity. Learn more at caseih.com/everyinch.
How do you get micronutrients in balance when levels of each micro vary across a field? We'll discuss that challenge in today's Iron Talk. As your grid or zone sampling program gets more fine-tuned each year to help you identify yield-limiting factors, you'll begin addressing individual micronutrient shortages in various areas of your farm. Since it's easy to overdo it with micros, we've consistently used a micronutrient blend like Micro 500 with our planter to feed this year's crop. To fix individual shortages going forward, though, here's the strategy we've found to have given us the most success. Apply a blend that gets most or all nutrient levels above the minimums without pushing any one nutrient over the maximum. Use variable rate technology as that particular rate may vary. Then you can follow with variable rate individual micros with dry products where significant cost savings can be gained. Of course, you could choose option 3, which is to apply variable rate with liquid products where immediate availability or minute rates are needed. Using a liquid solution allows you to apply super low rates by mixing it with 10 gallons of water to get a great spread. With the dry products, it may take 12 or 24 months for all that fertilizer to come available and start showing up in your soil tests. So think of this as a 3-year plan before you start judging the results. With nutrients like P and K, we've had great success feeding the crop with banded applications. When it comes to micros, though, feeding the soil and getting things in proper balance is shown to be the best way those micros will be there not just for this year's crop, but for many crops to come. Again, it all starts with a great soil testing program. You can follow up with plant tissue analysis once per week through the growing season to check your results. That's all for this week's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
Closed captioning for Ag PhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
If you're looking to expand your farm's grain handling, you want everything to be fast and efficient. The Quick Belt from Norwood Sales is your all-around grain handling solution. Our conveyor-based system uses an 18-inch belt and a 10-inch tube, which minimizes seed damage while moving more than 10,000 bushels an hour. That's fast enough to fill a semi in 6 minutes. Plus, our hood is designed to gently direct the flow of grain straight down, keeping your crop in condition. Keep your grain and your farm moving with the Quick Belt from Norwood Sales.
We hope you've enjoyed our show today. If you're looking for more agronomic information, we invite you to tune into the Ag PhD radio show as well. You can find us on SiriusXM channel 147 at 2 p.m. Central each weekday.
And don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics, Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.
Planting a crop not intended for harvest is becoming a regular thing. It's called a cover crop. The use of cover crops is on the rise due to the many benefits they provide the soil, including reducing erosion, improving nutrient availability, and breaking up soil compaction. To learn about cover crops and more, visit the Responsible Nutrient Management Foundation at rnmf.org.